All right, my friend. So first and foremost, how are you doing today?
I am good. I had a couple of exciting days, so I'm quite buzzing, and probably also from the coffee. But yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, exciting days. Tell me about it. Like, what kind of stuff were you up to lately?
Oof, there's so much different things going on actually because I make music for myself, of course. Like I'm producing electronic music, lots of times with my gear, but also just in Ableton and recording things and remixing. But also
Hmm.
touring, and I'm also working for Bukes, and those are like gear books, and I don't know if people know them, but really cool. It's about Roland or like Moog or
Awesome.
like different brands as well. So yeah, it's been busy, and also some things I really can't say. So yeah, it's just a bit
Sure, sure,
like boiling up, and I'm like, this is so exciting, but yeah, but cool
sure.
things are happening. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's a challenging thing sometimes. I experience that sometimes too, where it's like something exciting is happening, and for various reasons, you whether it's NDA stuff or just you want to wait and see it fully fleshed out before you share with people. But it's like you wanna let people know how exciting it is. But of course, the time does eventually come, and then you're able to share with everyone and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Like, and we are often, I think also because of social media, we are often like sort of used to share directly what we feel or think or,
Sure.
and I think sometimes it's just good to keep some secrets, you know?
Sure, totally, totally.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And then, yeah, exactly. Kind of sit back a little bit, and then when the time is right, then you got kind of go ahead and
Yeah.
share with everyone.
Yeah, I guess so.
So I've been following your content for a while, and I really, yeah, I'm excited. This is like, oh, this is so. First of all, this is the first one of these recordings for my show that I've done in quite a while. I've taken a break,
Yeah.
and not like a deliberate one, but just I just took some time off and focusing on other things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I was really missing, this sense of connection.
Yeah.
I think, like you were mentioning about social media, we interact with posts, we chat here and there sometimes, whether it's, deeper relationship with DMs and stuff like that. But being able to like sit down across from someone virtually like this and have a conversation about something that both of us are super interested in, which is music and production and electronic music. And obviously, we're going to get into teenage engineering and stuff like that as well. It's something that I don't take for granted, and I look forward to these conversations. So I'm feeling. You mentioned coffee. I got some tea here, so I'm
Nice.
feeling excited. I'm feeling
Yeah.
ready to go. Are you a big coffee drinker? Do you have it like regularly or?
Actually, not so. So the thing is, like, sometimes coffee goes really well with me. Like, I'm buzzing and it's just nice. But I also
Hmm.
sometimes don't want to have that feeling. I just feel like I love, if I have to choose between tea and coffee, I would definitely choose tea. Like, there are so
Hmm.
many different tastes, and I love
Hmm.
tea. I'm a big tea drinker.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
what is your
Awesome.
favorite tea?
Oh, well, what do I have right now? Right now, I have one. I think this is a peach detox tea, and the reason
Mm.
we have this is because my wife and I, to start the year, January 1st to the 10th, we were doing a 10-day green smoothie cleanse,
Whoa.
which was breakfast. It was really intense. Yeah, so breakfast,
Yeah.
lunch, and dinner. We have these green smoothies, but to start the morning before even the first one, we would have a detox tea that does some type of detox or something for that particular cleanse. But it was super inspiring, and you know what? Doing that cleanse mentally made me feel stronger than I ever have, and like mentally strong. Like I'm able to resist this urge that we all have of like eating something delicious. And I said, you know what? I want to continue on. So now what I'm doing is the first 10 days of every month, including February, not a green smoothie cleanse, but some type of challenge. So guess what I'm doing? Well, not guess. You're not going to probably guess unless if you happen to see one or two stories I posted.
Yeah.
So I won't even say guess, but I'm doing a 10-day cold shower challenge this month.
Wow, that's actually so
Yeah.
funny. I started that as well. So I'm like,
Oh, get out.
yeah, yeah,
Really?
yeah, yeah. I'm like,
Coincidental.
I think maybe, I don't know what your ideas are, but like for me, it was, you can train your brain in many ways,
Uh-huh.
to sometimes we experience like hard stuff in life and we are used to run away from it. But if you dedicate yourself to cold showers, you're like, okay, I want to make it until like that I am freezing. And
Mm-hmm.
secondly,
Mm-hmm.
you just notice what it does with your mind and your breathing, and
Ooh.
Yeah, and also I was ill for like a few weeks. So I felt like, okay, I need to do something. The Wim Hof thing, you know, I was checking it out. And
Yes, sure.
but yeah, I felt, I don't know, what is your feeling? Like, do you feel like you are more energized, or is it, does it do something to your body?
Yeah, definitely more energized. I feel like specifically to start the day, like the very first day that I did it, I did a full on cold shower, washing myself in the cold, and that was too intense for me to just dive in that way, right? So then I made a quick adjustment and did the regular normal hot shower, and then like for the last minute to 2 minutes, turned it on the coldest, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, same thing, right? Mentally, and just, the breathing. I've been practicing that a little bit more. So like I'd say the first few days I was kind of just, just moving around and just like really just dealing with it. But now I'm kind of like trying to force myself to kind of just take it and meditate a little bit, think during that time. So it's been really cool. It's been like really special. And I'm thinking like, why not, obviously I'm going to do this for the entire year. So I'm already thinking, I believe for next month, you heard it here first. Here's an exclusive. I think next month I'm going to do, 10 days off of all socials, but even more than just the Instagrams and Facebooks of the world, but also like my main platform, which is YouTube and YouTube Studio. So just really taking, and I might even make some content and do some scheduled releases, but I'm not going to go on any of those for 10 days. And that'll be the first time ever trying that. So I feel excited about it, and kind of a call to action. I'm like sharing some stuff on stories, and I'm thinking like, why not invite others who are thinking about doing something like it to challenge themselves too, and then we can have a little dialogue online and stuff. So it's good. It's going good so far.
Yeah, that's nice. I love that idea. I think everyone should do that.
For sure, right?
Yeah,
take a little reset.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right, so here's a question that I love asking my guests. I want to know what little Nadia was like. What were you like as a young kid?
You're kidding me. I was just looking at family videotapes, like VHS, like old tapes of me when I was small.
Oh, love it.
Because I believe we are how we are when we are a child. And then we go through life and we get all these thoughts and we grow up in between environments and we adapt that, right?
Yes.
And then if you get more and more again to yourself, it's like they say always, like you're an onion and you peel off the layers and then you start to be yourself again. And I said, there are so many things happening in my life right now. I was as a kid already dead, but then I grew away from that, And now I finally feel in the moment in my life that I am that again, and I think we should never lose that. But I was just doing, that's so funny.
That is incredible. And as you're saying that, I'm thinking to myself, most people who've known me in the past several years and even know me today, most people, whether it's online or in person, they know me as I'm going to give myself accolades now, but like, like a serious and, professional and, fun and caring, like these things that I definitely am. However, when I think about I want to get back to your question because I want to hear about how you were.
I forgot the question as well, but like,
right? No worries. I'm a intrude and tell you how I was, and then I want to hear your end. But I think about my silliness as a young kid and being silly and joking and like not even like good jokes, but just being silly and like goofy and like that type of stuff. And that is intrinsically something that I don't really broadcast as much. Now I'm starting to do a little bit more of that online, on socials, like to let people know, like when I joke around or do something like silly, like make a weird face or whatever, like I'm like, this is a big part of me. So it's not like all about Khordmaster, the musician. It's like also this is kind of part of me. And I'm loving being able to do that. And just being myself. So enough about me. I want to know about how you were as a little one, please.
I actually I don't know if I can show it. It's quite funny. Because I made I was just sharing it with someone. I was like, this was so me. I don't know if you can see it. I was just dancing. Oh my God, yes. And like,
yes.
So I was already I wanted to entertain people and give people a good feeling. So I was very sensitive and very on my own, and I still am. And I just don't like to see if people suffer, or I just have a very a feeling I need to help, And like I was in a very fortunate position because I grew up in a pretty wealthy family, but I became very anti that, you know, material and money, because I thought this is not making people happy at all, and I could see it from close, you know.
Wow.
And so I started to basically from sort of scratch of everything. So, but as a small child, I was always on my own creating things. If I didn't create, I felt, and still I have that, I feel very unsettled or something. I feel like that's not what I... Like, if I have to prefer, this is really hard, I'm so sorry, my friends, but if I have to choose between going with my friends to do something fun or creating my studio, I would just choose that.
Yeah.
And my good friends, they know that, because otherwise they might have a grumpy me or something. But like, I still deeply care about everyone around me. But I just, for my own good, and by then as well, my imagination is so big that I need to put it somewhere. You know, I need to have an export. Otherwise, you know. The recording takes too long. You know, you need to export it sometimes. But and my school teachers said a lot of times, like, yeah, Nadia has a different mind. She's a bit different than other children, and not like in an ego way, but they could see that I was just a lot in my head and creating things, and very musical. That was in a report also, like, written down, like she's very musical and creative, and it's funny if I think back about that time, because I was a very happy child, like a very, you know, I also didn't love like bullshit, you know, I really didn't like that kind of vibe if I felt it with other people, or and shy. I was super shy, and you would not say that now anymore, but I was so shy. Yeah.
Look at that, like being that thoughtful about and being able to articulate the way that you did, you know, who you are, what motivates you, what drives you, even like when you mentioned about like the fact that you're creative, and that's like the most, one of, if not the most important things for you. It's like when you go, you know, I'm sure maybe you've experienced like times where you have went a little longer than you would have liked to without being creative.
Yeah.
And then you start feeling some sense of like something bubbling up, like what's kind of happening with me, like that's occurred with me, and I didn't really put two and two together until I'm like, oh, well, it's because I haven't sat down and played the piano for a while, or I haven't made something from scratch, like, you know. And so it's really important to have that awareness, you know. So I think that's awesome that you're able to kind of recognize that, you know.
I think it is. I think what you said, if something is boiling and it's a sort of therapy, you know, it's a sort of that's what I see now in the society as well, that a lot of people get frustrated and they have admin jobs or whatever, but that's because they don't explore and make time for their inner journey, you know. But like the downside of that is choosing that life, I think, and accepting who you are, is sometimes you do lose people, you know. Like I've noticed I lost a lot of friends, or I lost people that didn't match that old version of me, you know. So I don't know if you ever had that as well, that you chose more directional you, and then you see suddenly like, oh wait, our friendship is not sustainable anymore, or
Totally.
things change.
You like doing exactly. You like doing different things, and you know the I guess we'll say the real ones, the ones who are different, very different than you, but you've known for a while, and you have that deep kinship. I have that, of course, and I cherish that. But even, you know, when we're together, the stuff that we used to talk about, like, I'm not as interested in even talking about that anymore. I want to talk about, like, you know, like, what are you doing creative? What are you doing creatively to, like, you know, to make to like explore that sort of side and stuff. And I acknowledge and recognize that obviously everyone, and I'm going to ask you this question. I don't even know if this is true or not. Like, do you think that at different levels, do you think that everyone has a creative side of them, many of which people just maybe don't know that they have it? Or do you think that only some people have a creative side?
That's such a good question. And I think a question that's really important to say, because I believe and I'm fully convinced that everyone is creative. It just takes courage, because creativity has a lot of times to do with feelings, right? With emotions, with putting your thoughts and feelings out there, and it's a sort of expression, right? And not everyone is able to express them from. It just takes a lot of courage to be who you are and express yourself like that. And that's why a lot of artists that made it, they fully can express themselves. And that's you need to do hard work for that, you know? And in this age we live in, we get challenged a lot of times for thinking, you know? We think a lot, and it's like more adapting to the society and more adapting to jobs, or, you know, we adapt to other people. And I still believe it's a choice. You can choose to do it, but you need to feel ready. And what I said, it takes so much work. And I also, you know, I was always creative. That's true. But like, and some people have more. How do you say that? They are quicker to express themselves because of their character. You know, we all have a character as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I do believe we can all be creative, and the person you are today, you are not tomorrow, right? So
sure.
I think you can develop new skills, basically.
I totally agree with that. Yeah. All right, I want to talk a little bit about like your musical influence and music in general. So I look behind you, and the first question that comes to mind is you have a lot of music gear. Have you ever felt, or do you currently feel like having, because I feel this way, I have a lot of stuff here, like over there, over here, all over, and sometimes it makes me feel overwhelmed sometimes, and sometimes I just want to have a lot less. And I know it's like a bad thing. It's like, wow, you're complaining about having too much stuff. Like, be quiet, like go over there, you know? But I do feel that way sometimes. So like, do you have like I guess I'll start off like this. Do you have like your specific sort of go-to pieces of music that's an integral part of your workflow, and then you just explore with like the other stuff whenever? Or like, how does that kind of work for you?
That's such a good question. That's like a question that is for you probably. If I will ask you that, you will like,
I have to be sitting here for 10 minutes thinking about like, yeah.
So there are different things about that. There's no clear answer. I think. So one thing is all the gear I have, they have a character. So I see them as sort of humans. They're like little creatures here. And like my Korg Electribe is like the squeaky one, you know, is a very like raw and very... it just wants to scream a little bit. And then we have like the Nordlied is a bit softer, you know, it's for softer moods, or and then FM synthesis that also has a bit more a higher tone, a little bit more sci-fi. So I think I put it into boxes like emotions, genres, but also like creativity. So sometimes I feel like I'm more into playing, like intuitively, and sometimes I'm way more into programming and menu diving, you know, to get something out of it. So I never felt the overwhelm, and that's very rare because I know a lot of people have that, because where do you start, when do you need to do, but also in that I think when you get to know yourself really deeply, you can feel what you want today, you know? It's like, what do you put on your bread today? Is it like peanut butter or jam or whatever, or both? You know?
Sure.
So I can feel, if you get to know your gear, that's one thing I want to say. You need to, the things you buy, don't buy and buy and buy and buy, because then you will never master your instrument as much, you know?
Sure.
And you don't know really when you can use it or for what. And now I'm just really... I can feel what I'm after, what kind of sound. Like the Moog is like perfect for if I really want to go bassy, or, you know, have some cool sequences with basses running there, or maybe trippy stuff. So I just know really for what to use it, I guess. But I also think these days that we might have a bit too much, you know, a bit too much gear that we don't maybe always need to. We can just go in the box and use Ableton, or... But gear is so much fun. So much fun.
It is, especially teenage engineering. So you have some teenage engineering stuff that you've... So what was your first teenage engineering product?
So this is the fun bit. So sometimes I have think like I believe in manifesting big time. I don't know what it is. I just feel like whatever we put our minds to, you can make it happen. I just posted something today about it. But the thing is, with Teenage, I always thought it was such a sick, cool brand. And it was for me sort of the Apple, you know, the Apple kind of feel. But I never felt in that moment like I need to have it as well. Like I don't need always to have everything. If I can see it with other people or use it, I'm also happy. But I had my eye on the OP1 for so long. Like I was like, this instrument is something that would be great for traveling. I really can quickly put ideas into it. It has a long-lasting battery. Different outputs, sample based, but also like a synth engine and cool effects and a sequencer, which I love. So I was like, there will be just one day that hopefully I can work with them, and I hope that dearly because it was high on my wish list. So when I started to develop my Instagram in COVID time, because I thought, okay, I can't tour anymore, I started to work more and more with brands. And not because I feel like I want to have the brands, but because those products, I was always a geek, you know. I was always interested in technology, like I was as a kid as well. And now I'm able to work with those many brands, and I discover so many different techniques, and I can explain that to other people as well. But Teenage is so sophisticated to me, and it has all the time great updates which work with my workflow, but also I think with the pace of technology we are in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think OP1 was my sort of first go-to, and then they reached out to me if I wanted to. We got introduced by True Cuckoo in Super Booth.
Nice.
And then we got suddenly contact, and then they shipped me over some gear to test out and to try. And yeah, I fell in love with the OP1. OPZ is also really cool, but as I said, I want to master pieces by piece. So now I'm very mastering the OP1, and then I'm going to the next piece of gear, basically.
There you go.
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't have said that better. That was such a cool way of describing the company, because I agree with that in terms of like you look at them with some sense of reverence, similar to how people look at Apple. Like I like that sort of perspective, and how unique and sophisticated was the other word you used, right? How I mean, you mentioned the Z, so I would have to say that I'm consistently blown away with the OPZ. And there was a time period where, because that was the first product that I purchased from them when it first came out, first one, right? So I never owned a OP1 until after the Z. Okay. And I'll tell you this, I made some incredible music on there, and then I got to a point where I, was using other pieces of equipment and stuff, and I kind of didn't use the Z for a while. And I think a reason for that is because the OPZ is nowhere near as popular, like on social media and stuff like that, as the OP1. Yeah. But for me, I had a lot more fun, sequencing and performing on the Z. Like right now, I'm starting to go to these coffee shops, Nadia, and I have my TX6 mixer, and I have my OPZ. And I have my M1 headset, and I have the OP1 field sometimes to like improvise over, but like the beats and the performance aspect is coming from the Z. Sick. And I'm just reminded, I'm like, okay, like the stuff you can do on that specific piece of hardware is absolutely mind blowing to me. Yeah. So when you ever do have a chance to like check it out, please do hit me up, because like I want to shout that to the world. Like I want people to know that it's so much that you can do in there, and it's not for everyone, right? And I think the reason that I'm having such a blast using the Z is because historically with my music, I'm used to more sequencer-based workflow than I am recording directly audio type workflow, which is why when I've used Ableton in the past, like I spent 99% of my time in the, what is it called, the session view, and like 1% in the arrangement. Like I never used arrangement ever. Ever. It's
Wow.
exactly. I'm like,
Yeah.
I never used it, right? And so yeah, so I think that has a little bit to do with it. But yeah, it just as you can see, like talking about it and talking to someone else who gets it,
Yeah.
I can have the same conversation with one of my friends that like, what the hell are you talking about right now? What are you even saying right now? You know?
Yeah.
But I'll say this about one of the things that I love talking about with the Z is the fact that on the master track you can sequence key changes. And so as a piano player, like in order to change key, like you have to be you have to have the know-how of doing that and everything like that.
Yeah.
On the Z you could sequence these key changes in a way where all you're doing is pressing one of the buttons, one of the keys, and it changes all of the tracks that you want it to change. If you want the drums to change, you could sequence key changes with the drums where it's not actually key changes, it's more so just like shifting what's being played. So it's just like, how did they think of this? Like how? You know what I'm saying? It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's really sick. It's so like, there are so many like, it's not really hidden anymore when you know it, but like hidden features, and actually that makes it sound like more rich, I think. But yeah, I only made one track for now on it, but I discovered the OP1 and now I'm like in the TX, what is it?
Oh my God.
TXX,
Yeah.
But I love
so
it.
good.
It's so
good.
I don't know.
I saw you post about it not too long ago, I think. Yes. And such a, like you got it and you were like, what am I to do with this? Or how am I going to use this?
It was like, this is so small. Like, what do I need to do? And also like, I don't know, the idea came actually that I shifted because I have that, like an analog mixer there. Yeah. The idea started with every time when I'm touring, there's always an issue with the sort of setup I have, or like maybe the mixer they don't have, or and then I was thinking, or let's say my manager was thinking, like, why can't you just bring something that is yours, exactly, how to plug it, and you can record things. And I was like, oh my God, but that's this thing that can basically do it, and I have it. So I'm now thinking of like hooking it up with like a sort of MIDI controller, because I do like some like different sizing if I'm really jamming around on stage. But also like, I don't know, it's just so cool that it also has that clock, and now I can send clock via this mixer, and I don't need, for example, my multi-clock anymore. I'm just so stuck, like you can hear it. I'm so like blown away, and also the effects. I really like the crispiness of it. It's so sick. Yeah.
It's all right. So we got to talk about this because you mentioned a couple times about touring.
Oh yeah.
I need to like. I want to wrap my brain around because I'm starting to do like in-person piano playing at like coffee shops and like at this yoga studio, and like I'm starting to put myself out there because I really, really enjoy doing it, and I want to get better at playing for people rather than just in the studio. So I want to understand a little bit like what that experience is like for you. If you could walk me through just, I guess, one of your last tours, like what do you do? Like what does that like look like? Because I'm trying to like understand it.
Yeah. Well, sort of my last tour was actually with my the album before that. So it was my second album. And then I had a short tour just through, Europe, like Northern Europe. And the thing is then I'm improvising, but also I'm preparing like presets or whatever, patches, anything that that you want to play, because normally you get like a set time for an hour or maybe 45 minutes. Like I love an hour. And then you prepare for that. But the thing is, it's not only your set if you're touring, right? It's also like the networking, like you have to think about the travels, and there's so much logistics happening as well at the same time. But the main thing, if you have an agent or like a manager, they make sure that you focus on the creative part, because how I set up my live set was basically, it is around an album, or it's around a gig. Like if they want to book me for a techno gig, my setup is different. But now I'm sort of working on a a smaller live set that a compact one that I always can bring with me. But yeah, what are your questions about the touring part? What is something you would like to know? Like, what is for you important?
Sure. Yeah, so I guess the first thing, like, I guess one of these types of performances, is this a thing where it's you on stage by yourself doing your music stuff and then a different act comes on after, like that type of deal?
Yes. So normally they have a sort of lineup, and then you are positioned in like maybe the warm up, or or can also be closing or whatever. And then everyone has a set time, and if you are lucky, you have a really good sound engine that walks there around and that helps you, or helps you just to connect your gear or anything like that. So, and then you have a sound check beforehand. So that's probably in the noon, because in the evening there's like the sort of set times.
Sure.
And then you can sound check and hear if your monitors are right. That's what you have to think of. You need to think of the height of the table, if that's not like causing you a hernia afterwards, or...
Sure.
And then you have the sound of in the room, and that's the tricky part because every room is different, right? So I try to layer up my sounds always, any sound, because and with different frequencies, because it can be that a kick drum might sound very thin in one room, but in another room it's like, wow, explosion kind of. So that's what you have to think of, like, technically, and also like you need to bring, of course, your own adapters, your own gear. And as a DJ, you don't really have that. So that's a little bit more sort of easy. But like that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's something I want to, eventually be able to do, like and I'm looking at my OB4 speaker.
Oh yeah, I love it.
And my OPZ and my OP1, and just have some. I'm excited about that. Just like hearing you talk about what that looks like, and I can go to the boardwalk somewhere near where I live when the weather gets nicer, and I plan to do that actually, and just go out there and just perform there. You know what I'm saying? Just to get some experience and stuff. So yeah, I look forward to that.
That's so cool. Yeah.
So let me ask a question about like being a music content creator as well, like on socials and stuff like that. Like, so what's your what's your relationship with social media? Do you like enjoy the part of like posting stuff that you do musically on there and stuff, or do you hate it and do it just because you kind of have to for your branding, or somewhere in the middle?
I think maybe you have the answer already, but like I'm a full creator. I think all the time creative. I see images, I do things that I hear that I want to share. So I really love it. I really enjoy it. And the only times when I really don't enjoy it is that I feel I'm getting hooked to it, to replying people or whatever. Then I feel like, okay, I need some distance. But overall, I'm not attached to my... a lot of people, and not everyone, but a lot of people on socials, they are really attached to what people say about them, or the likes they get, or the followers they get. That is a reflection then of who they are. And that's why they get addicted, because it gives them like a fulfilling feeling. So I would say if you do something like that and use Instagram as a tool, because it is a tool. I never saw it as a social platform because, it's quite intense and...
Sure.
And it's very now directed on like businesses and stuff. I would say firstly, if you want to do that, you need to be very confident in yourself, because otherwise you start to get really attached to numbers or sentences or whatever. Or also like you have haters, like you have a lot of times people that have to say something really rude. And in the beginning I could die for a week because of that one comment,
Sure.
And now it's like 5 minutes, like, I hate this person, but it's okay.
Yeah.
That probably or she has probably some issues or whatever. And
Sure.
But I tend to really like it, and I love to connect with different people. That's how we connected.
Sure.
So And I was since a child already always online. I was a big fan of The Sims.
Oh, nice. Yeah, throwback.
Yeah, and I was having a forum, and I was, how do you say that? Not changing. I was actually, it was a store, sort of, and people could, like, swap items, and
Oh, yes. Okay, sure.
I sort of correct it, and it was really nice. So I was always on forums, and
Wow.
super nerdy, but yeah, I still am that person. I still love to go and chat with people, or
Sure.
yeah. And what do you have? Do you feel like it's fun for you, or do you yeah?
I think, you know what? I think what you mentioned about when you start feeling different ways about it is like for me, when I start feeling a little bit like it's taking over my days, like a big part of my day is what I'm going to be posting today, or what I'm going to be, you know, how often I'm using it in a day or in a weekly span. Then I start realizing that I need to like take a break from it and make an adjustment. So I've gone through many seasons of having no socials on my phone, only on my, you know, like iPad.
Oh,
like
wow.
this doesn't go with me everywhere, so I can't check it as often.
Yeah.
And right now, honestly, like right now, I'm starting to feel a little bit like that. Like I feel like I've been on it way too much, like in the past few weeks or months, and so I'm mindful of that. So that's why I think March is going to be a great time, you know, for me to kick off that 10-day
That's
thing.
so good.
For sure. But like you said, I love the way you said what you said about it being a tool, because it is that. And at the end of the day, like for what I do and for what you do, like being able to showcase what it is that you work on creatively for what I do creatively as well, but also networking with people like this. I've met so many incredible people, and one like idea or one goal at some point in the future. One of my buddies who I interviewed as well, his name is Matt Fetcher. He's a Audio Kit iOS music app developer, and so I interviewed him. And one time he posted a like a picture. I think he lives in Colorado, I believe. So I think he was in like this really nice looking like cabin. And he was staying there for the weekend with some friends or something. And we were just chatting on DM. And I'm like, yo, how amazing would it be to like some of the creative people that we've met only virtually, for us to like go on like some retreat, you know? This is wishful thinking,
that
but
is
like
sick,
being
yeah.
together creatively in a space, right? And being able to meet for the first time and work on, you know, fun music projects or even artists and stuff like that. So that's something that I'm mindful of. I don't know how that happens, because it's a lot of logistics, especially with a lot of people being in Australia and Europe like yourself and all over. But it's something that, you know, once I make it big and I'm able to like coordinate such a thing, I would love to like to do something like that, like a yearly get together with the other electronic music and just other artists that I've met. Would be really a fun thing.
It is. And I also like, you know, sometimes, I don't know if you have that, or that someone, like, I was on the airport, and it's more often now because my Instagram sort of exploded and maybe people know me from the music, that, you know, then someone is coming towards me, or, hey, you're Nadia, right? And I'm like, whoa, mate, that's nice. You know, I'm always like, in real life, that's so weird. I'm still the same person, but I can be very social awkward. You know, I just sort of like, okay, what do I need to say? I think
what do I do here?
I'm more nervous than those people that come towards me, you know?
Yeah,
so,
that's funny.
And then I sometimes say these weird things, and it's like, oh, did I say that out loud? Yeah, okay, whatever.
Right.
But
that's hilarious.
It's funny to see people in real when you had contact with them as well, like, and then it's like, wow, you're so much taller, you know, you're like a tree.
yes, you have a different perception of them. Once you're meeting them in person,
it's so true.
It's really wild.
Yeah, it's so funny.
All right, so I got some rapid fire questions, and then we're gonna get ready to wrap up. Okay, fun questions, things that are just a little bit about you, right?
Yeah.
So, first one is, name a place that you visited that you loved.
Oh. Okay, so Scotland. I think that was my most fave. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. How long ago?
So that's a while ago. I think like before COVID even. Yeah.
Okay.
But I was there, and I went to many places. But I was there, and I was like, for me, this is like a different planet. It's so fairy tale, and I feel like my music is so that place. So I'm heavily fan. I'm not a lot of fan of people, but I'm fan of Boards of Canada since I started music. And they are actually from there, and I so relate to so many things. So it's almost like I felt really home, even though it was cold and rainy. But I was like, oh, I feel like really home. Yeah. So no, it was great.
Scotland.
Yeah,
that sounds real. And the word you used too, fairy tale. Like that's maybe one of the first things that I think of. Like I don't know much about Scotland. I don't know anything really about it. But I think of like, was there like a lot of open, like grassy, like type situation? Is that like open? What do you like? Open space, rolling hills and stuff like that.
And then the fog, and then you hike there, and then little water streams, and those rocks are also looking different or somehow, and the little villages with those people, and it's
man.
It's really nice to hike there. So if anytime, I think they say sometimes. Also, like about Canada, it just really clears your mind. It's sort of, it's a really nice space to be at. And I was also in Australia for like 2.5 years with COVID. It was beautiful, nice. But I still would pick Scotland over Australia somehow. So let me see if I need to adjust my camera a bit. Yeah, there's more light.
Sure. Oh, there you go. Let there be light. There we go.
Yeah,
nice.
Scotland.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'd like for you to name a show and a movie that you love.
That's such a good one. Okay, so movie Interstellar, definitely. I love sci-fi a lot, and I love.
Okay.
I love the end and then the perspective behind the wall and stuff. So that's one I really love, and
the music was amazing in there, the soundtrack. Right?
Blade Runner as well, by the way. I love.
Oh, yes. Yes. Top tier soundtrack.
It's so. And I loved actually Ozark series.
Yes. My wife watched that.
Yeah?
Okay. She loved it. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was so hooked. And the storyline is interesting. And for me, sometimes it's really hard because series, it really needs to grab me. Or otherwise, I feel like I'm just binging for nothing, It's like, what am I looking at? But yeah, that's probably it. Oh yeah, and I need to mention this because I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan.
Ooh, yes.
Star Wars too, but anyway.
I'm embarrassed to say I haven't seen one Star Wars movie. That's terrible, right? I know that. I don't even want to. Yeah. I need to. I a few people on this very platform I've shared that with, and they were very like, it was a good conversation until that point. Then they just kind of turned on me, I was like, what the hell are you doing
right now?
I'm not talking to you
anymore.
Exactly, like they just hit the end button and didn't even have a chance to upload.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, very cool. Yeah. All right, so what would you say? I'm gonna ask one more question just about like, for someone that may be watching this that is interested in getting in the, I'll say music /music content space like you and I are in. What would you say is something that you would share with them? I guess like a high level, how to get started. What's like a piece of advice that you wish you knew back then that you know now?
I think what would be my best advice, and that sounds really weird because in a way, yes, we need to have goals, but don't have a goal. Just have fun, because sometimes your goals will change. Your goal always is changing, because once we reach the goal, there's another goal. And when you just are not really aware of the goals, but you're just creating and do what you love, the goals come automatically, so you don't need to think really. But it's really good to be intentional about what you do and why you do it, especially the why. Why are you doing things? Why are you choosing that? Why do you like it? But goals are very terrible for our vision because it's sometimes very narrow-minded and you start to be someone you maybe are not. So I think when you get into music production, for example, leave out the goals and just have fun and explore, and get inspired. And the same for content creation. It will come to you, just share things. And sometimes you need a push and like I'm also coaching music production and stuff, then I say like just try to set in like small goals, maybe like for a month, like say to yourself, I'm going to post each day something, and then you can be proud of yourself, you create a habit, and then you just roll. So I think that would be one of my make smaller steps, don't have too big goals, and just start to do and have fun.
And get started.
Yeah.
All right. One last question that just came to me. I was in Costco one day doing some food shopping, and I was listening to songs on my headphones, and one of my songs came on, and I thought to myself, I was like, okay, if anyone like asked me, like, I only have time to listen to one of your songs, like, what would you recommend? I was like, oh, it at that point it probably would be that song, because I felt like it was the best sounding, and maybe the most. It was most likely that a random person will appreciate that more than maybe other music. So I ask you, would you say that you have, like, I know you've produced a lot, you've been doing it for quite a while, but would you say, like, name, I guess, either one song or one of your songs that you feel that someone that doesn't know you might want to check out your stuff, like, oh, I'll check this song out. Like, what song might that be?
I think the most catchy one would be like Trip in Fiction. It's a sort of uplifting kind of. It's from my first album, Lenticular, and it's sort of combined of what I'm still doing and also what I'm gonna release. So it's a sort of uplifting thing. But yeah, I would say just that album. It's my favorite of them all, I think. So it's a little bit breaky, instrumental.
Awesome.
Ambient stuff. So yeah, I think I would.
Awesome. Trip in Fiction. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bit
the
life name.
What's the first album called?
Lenticular. So it's
Lenticular.
Yeah, it's more like about the perspectives, like different perspectives. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say this. Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure chatting with you and getting a chance to get to know you on a deeper level. And I'm looking forward to just kind of continuing to see what you continue to do and being able to share this conversation with other people, and for us to be able to like look at this talk. This is now like a snapshot of where we both were on whatever, February 9th, 2023. So next year we'll look at this and be like, wow, like, this is how things were and now look how things are going, kind of thing. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and it was such a pleasure to talk with you. So thank you.
Awesome. Have a great one.
Thank you, you too.